Hello.
Of course, I decided to choke when we are recording. Oh gosh. So let's talk about this week.
Yeah.
How's
Well,
this week
first,
been?
yeah, first to preface that Andrew and Chris are in Salt Lake City right now.
Hopefully, making a lot of contacts, and that will lead to some interesting relationships. And if anything, more people that we can learn from, right?
Yeah. Honestly, I'm getting a little slightly influenced to move to Utah.
It's like every single time I talk to him, I was like the other day, yesterday I think it was. I was no, I think it's this morning. It doesn't matter when. I was talking to him, and he's like, oh, like he's been basically there for like a week now, right? And it's like, oh man, they're treating us so nice, and it's so cool in here. And I'm like, this is the second time you go there, and you have like this great experience. I was like, I just can't wait to go there with you because I really want to experience everything that like, and it better be as good as you're describing it when I go with you. Because has it ever happened to you that someone tells you something about a place or a restaurant or whatever it is, and then you go, like they talk to you and they tell you all of these things, right? That you have this idea in your head, and then you go in there and it's below what you thought, and it's like so disappointing. So I'm like, I know you're selling it to me and I like the idea of it, so it better be as good as you're telling me, because if I go there, it's not up to that standard that I have in my mind, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
Yeah, you like have all these expectations.
Yeah,
That's why
exactly.
I always say to myself, I'll just have low expectations. Expect nothing. Everyone's words are just words until I experience it.
It's true. I heard somewhere that said that you don't get disappointed if you don't have expectations. Or if you don't expect anything from anyone, actually. If you don't expect anything from anyone, then you don't get disappointed. And I'm like, yeah, but when it comes to places, there's a standard, right? That has to be
Yeah.
there.
And
Yeah,
also,
so
I'd like to believe that there's people on this earth that are reliable and their words match with their actions.
yeah. Yeah, but I don't or maybe I don't in my mind, I don't think that connects to with someone being reliable with me having expectations towards someone or what can
True.
they provide or what they can give in
Hmm.
exchange, right? Or maybe it's just my perception.
Yeah. And ooh, that brings up something that has been like on my mind this week as well. On things that I'm working through, like emotionally, with the ups and downs of starting a business. And, now we have this podcast, now we're building in public. So it's like people are going to get a deeper insight on, what we're going through and being open and vulnerable.
Yeah.
Being vulnerable is scary, but something that I have to realize in myself now is the expectations that I have of the actions that I'm taking.
Mm.
So I'll I'll feel like, okay, I'm doing all these different tasks, and now when they aren't in the outcome that I want them to be, I get upset because I had this expectation where I'm like, I'm holding up my end of the deal. Now give me what I want.
But have you thought that, like, I get it, right? Like, sometimes I feel like when we're putting like so much effort and energy into something, it's like we trick our brain into thinking that it's gonna happen sooner rather than later and faster, probably, right? But sometimes it's just like it's not as fast as we want it to be. And I think that sometimes it's beneficial as well, because if it
Yeah.
happens as fast as you want it, like there might be some lessons along the way that you might not be able to learn. that when you are higher, you might be able to learn them. And then the higher you are, the fall, the deeper it's gonna be, the more
Yeah.
insane it's gonna be. So I think I'd rather go in like these little steady line going up and learning little by little than just like shoot up and then like, oh, never mind, calm down.
I agree too. I think it's more sustainable that way.
Yeah, it's extremely irritating and desperate. But
Yeah. I know it's gearing us up for what we need to know when we are in alignment with the opportunities are that are meant to come through and the things that we're meant to help with.
yeah, yeah, and I think that the more we learn, the more we go through all of these and like uncomfortable situations and like the different ways that we react to it is like I think that if we wouldn't experience those things, we might not even know or foresee that maybe what you thought you wanted in the first place is not what you wanted, because then you start discovering more about it and it's like, you know what, like I'm really not feeling this. So
Yeah.
it's okay to probably change your path as long as you're staying true to yourself. It's okay. Like it's like when you, the analogy that I can say is like when you meet someone and you think that you want to be in a relationship with that person, and probably the more you getting to know them, you're like, no, this is not what I want, this is not what I expected. Like it's like, because when you get to know someone at the very beginning, it's like everything is you're in like the honeymoon phase, right? Everything is amazing, you see only the best things that they want to show you, right? Then the more you get to live with them and to learn about them, it's like there are some aspects that of course you're not gonna like, or there might be some things that are like completely deterrent to you and it's like, actually I just want to rethink about this is not what I want. And it's
Mhm.
okay to do that before like jumping into a full commitment.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, as painful as it might be sometimes, because like I've been in situations that like even there's like something that I think I want to do, like career wise or like with a job, and then the more I do it, I'm like, this no, I don't like this. But
Yeah.
and then on the other hand, I'm like, but I already invested all of this time, and then I think to myself, well, if there's anything that I can do, that I can correct, that I can actually change my situation, or do I just completely want to change like my path and be like, okay, I'm done with this. And
Yeah.
I think that at the end of the day, whatever decision you choose to take is, as long as it makes you happy and makes you feel fulfilled, I think that's what matters the most. Because whether you do it or not, the one that's gonna have to live with that is you, no one else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just like, I guess it's the ups and downs of building a business, right? Like there's gonna be some days that you feel like, oh my god, I'm winning, like this is amazing, and I'm having all of these conversations and all of these things might come out of it, and then some other days that you're like, why god, why?
Yeah. And I know that you're since you and Andrew are around each other all the time, you're seeing more of the conversations that are coming through and like you're there very close to it. And I think for me, I'm keeping myself siloed more
Hmm.
and I have been trying to talk to people, but I think that for me there's a lot more like silence. I've been just trying to keep myself busy and I'm like, "Oh, I know where my talents lie. I will nourish what we're doing here." but I'm trying to figure out if that's also keeping me in this feeling of feeling like I'm not doing enough or I am limiting myself.
I mean, yes, and it's very easy to fall into these patterns. That it's something that I personally experience when I feel that I'm not like probably having all of these fruitful conversations at the level that he is. That he has his calendar booked every single day of the week, and it's just like I used to be able to see him interact, and then I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then this week has helped me realize a lot of those things probably is just like taking the leap and like putting yourself out there, because like the event that I attended yesterday, I would have never in a million years thought that I would go to an event like that, especially by myself, alone, like completely alone, because I'm not the kind of person that is like goes out there and like it shows herself and have no limitations on like exploring what's out there, right? Like just trying to figure it out. For me, it's like I'm a very reserved person. I'm very like I kept to myself. So even socializing with someone that I have never met before, it's intimidating to me.
Mhm.
So that idea, it's like, oh my God, it's just like I'm in my head. I'm just trying to reinvent the wheel. And I'm like, I don't need to do this because it's not serving me. And this is
Mhm.
not helping me to be in the state of mind that I need to be able to. And it's just a conversation. Like I notice a lot of the times, like I have put off all of these blockages in my head that I come probably from that perspective that I'm like, I'm not gonna bring enough value to this person. And it's just like sometimes it's not a matter of bringing value, sometimes it's
Yeah.
just getting to know the other person. And you might end up finding out that like probably you can provide more value than you think you can, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like I gotta say it's been refreshing to see for myself that I'm like, okay, I'm not as bad as I thought that I would be. And you know what, if it's not up to what they were expecting, it doesn't matter because at least I try. And the more I do it, I know that the more comfortable I'm going to be with it. And then it's going to come to the time that this is going to be second nature to me, like it is for
Yeah.
Andrew.
Mhm.
So I think it's just a matter of like just putting yourself out there. If you want results and you're not getting those results, definitely I have to change what I'm doing, because what I'm doing so far is not bringing me anything.
Mhm.
So even if that means I have to get out of my comfort zone, I need to go out there and be like, you know what? This person that I might meet, they might think that I'm a complete joke. I don't care. Because at the end of the day, I'm learning something, and the more I do it, the better I'll get at it. And it's difficult in the moment. It's like it was like even yesterday, I was like the first 20 minutes at the event, I was just by myself, and I was like even intimidated just of the thought of having to go to introduce myself.
Mhm.
And I was like, until I was like, you know what, like you gotta snap out of these, because you're not gonna come to an event to stand by yourself and not interact with anything. Because for that, I better stay home and don't spend money on gas or anything. And it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna do it. And I just went with that mentality. I was like, okay, do I really want to stand here for the rest of the night by myself, or do I just go and introduce myself? And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I gotta do it. And I did it. And I'm so glad I did. So glad, because it's helping me to build that confidence that I think all of us need in some way to reassure yourself
Mhm.
that even though you might not be at the level that you want to be, you need to start somewhere. And that's going to take practice. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel with it.
Mhm.
So,
So,
yeah.
how do you feel now?
I feel that I'm happy that I overcame my fear and that, in my opinion, I don't think I was as bad as I told myself. The story I told myself, oh my god, you're gonna be horrible at this. I don't think it went as bad as I told myself. And I wouldn't even say it went bad, I would say it went good. So I liked it. I liked it, and I think uh, if I can do it like that, maybe I can continue just doing it. It's just a matter of putting myself out there
Mhm.
and learning. Like one thing that I enjoy a lot is like when I'm talking to someone and they're like talking about a topic that I have not necessarily a lot of knowledge of. And like even Andrews, like when they tell you something and you don't understand it, just ask the question again. Just like, can you explain this a little bit more? Or can you rephrase it? Or can you dummy it down? And I'm like, yeah, you're right. I had this thought in my mind that I always had to come to a conversation with like knowing everything. And I realized that's gonna be impossible. There's no way for me to know everything. And the only way that I'm gonna learn more about it is by listening and asking questions when I don't understand something. So I've been practicing more of that, like asking questions and not feeling bad for asking a question that probably for someone might be obvious, but for me it's not. And there's nothing wrong with me not knowing it. It's just like, okay, I'm learning it, or
Mhm.
and it's okay. I think coming to the realization and coming to the acceptance that it's okay to not know everything is a huge thing for me, because for the longest time I had this mentality of like, oh my god, no, what am I gonna do there? Like I'm gonna sound so unprepared. I'm gonna sound like a newbie, and I don't know anything. And you might not know in depth what they're talking about, but probably they don't know what your expertise is either. And because someone asked me something that I might have more experience in, I personally am not gonna think, oh my god, this person is a dumb. No, it's like the way I see it. I'm like, oh, that's interesting that they're interested in learning more about what I know.
Yeah.
So it's good to have that perspective shift and a change on how it can actually be perceived, rather than constantly punish myself for not knowing everything.
Mhm. And even on the flip side of that, sometimes I've felt even when I am at events and I'm around people that know things, I if they ask me a question and like sometimes I'll even feel like, "Oh my god, they're asking me a question and I feel dumb because maybe I didn't explain it right." And I'm like, "No, that's just a story that I'm telling myself because they're past that if they're either past it or they've never felt like that asking a question and when they don't know something is stupid, that or it makes another person make them feel stupid. It's just no, they're curious and they're trying
Yeah.
to understand more. And I think that people engage with that more instead of pretending like they know everything because then they can't actually talk to you or you can't have a conversation of substance. When I place that value on another person and that value where I'm like the lesser in this conversation, I have nothing to offer or nor no insight to bring, it holds me back from being myself. And I think people can feel that energy.
Yeah, whether we want it or not, like when we are self-conscious about how we perceive ourselves, we radiate that. And like you said, people can feel that. Like if
Mhm.
like the like even if you go to a party or like to one of your friends gathering, there's gonna be someone that shows up in there that are so confident about themselves that they just radiate that and everyone can see it,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So it's just a matter of training our brains and ourselves in believing that, okay, I can be confident about myself and I can be uh and I don't need to filter who I am because it might be perceived one way. This is who I am. And I think as long as you are not hurting anyone or doing something bad, it's okay to be you,
Yeah.
right?
And it's also comforting to know that uh confidence is a thing and people can feel it, but you never know when someone's faking it or not. Just do it.
Yeah, I interesting enough, I found that like I think I read it somewhere or someone told me about these. I can't remember honestly, but it was like, have you noticed that sometimes people talk about topics that makes them feel uncomfortable on purpose to make themselves feel comfortable with it? And they're like, for example, if you are, I don't know, wearing funny shoes and you don't feel comfortable with them, and everyone is looking at your shoes, you're going to talk about your shoes and make fun of your shoes to make yourself feel better about it. And I was like, yeah, now that you think about it, like now that I think about it, it's like, yeah, there's been several situations that I'm like, oh, like my hair is a mess right now. And like everyone can be like, hey, what happened with you? Like, did you get in a fight with your comb or? And I'm like, the more fun I make out of it, or the more I actually address it, I'm like, okay, this is it's okay to be like you. It's okay to have a hair, your hair being a mess. It's okay the way it is. So I think
Yeah.
that's interesting.
I think we're all just looking for honesty.
Yeah, and some level of validation as well, right?
Yeah.
I would say that for sure.
Mhm. I think right now what's keeping us going is the social validation that people want to talk to us and are interested in what we're doing, you know.
Like even like I said.
We need that second push of being like, okay, we're here and we'll help you and we'll help you so much. Would you pay for it? You know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. It's like I said, it's validating and what's helping us is to see all of these big people that are like, oh yeah, I'll talk to you. Okay, I'll give you 30 minutes or 1 hour of my day to talk to you to find out
Yeah.
what you're doing and to tell you what I'm doing. And I'm like,
We're not going to name drop.
yeah, and it's like, okay, that's nice. That's reassuring, at least
Mhm.
reassuring if anything, to be like people that made it and they're like, yeah, I'll talk. I'm like, if I'm nobody and they want to talk to me, that's got to be a sign, right?
Yeah, but even just like the story that you're telling yourself is that they have value and then you see yourself as less valuable than them when, someone that works at a top company that has 500 employees is going to be thinking that same scenario when they're talking to someone that, maybe it's like a manager of a team of 500 employees. Then they're going to see someone that manages a team of 10,000 employees and thinks that they're less than them. But then the person that's managing 25 people is like impressed by the 500. Like there's just always ways to psych yourself out and being like progressing towards like whatever you have isn't good enough and like what the other person has is better. And I think that's maybe just evolutionary of us as a species. You could just even
Yeah.
say that the world's going because we're constantly evolving. It feels
Yeah.
against our nature to not to resist the urge to evolve.
I think there's always gonna be a bigger fish than you for sure. Everywhere you
Yeah.
go. And I learned that for me, at least, I'd rather be in a room where I feel intimidated by all the people that I'm around than feel that I'm the best in a room.
Yeah.
Because the moment I start feeling like, oh, okay, I'm accomplishing all of these stuff, okay, I'm feeling good about myself, and then there's no space for me to grow
Yeah.
because I already reached that level. And it's important to, like you said, like human nature, right? Like always trying to be better, like pushing yourself. And that's gonna happen whether you want it or not. And it's just a matter of putting yourself in those situations, putting yourself out there. Like I always try to reflect to every interaction I have, and I always try to go over in my mind, be like, okay, and how do I feel about being here? Do I feel like I'm one of the best, or do I feel like, oh my god, this is so intimidating to me? And most of the times when I being in situations that I feel intimidated by it is when it allows me to grow the most.
Yeah.
But there's other people that they just like staying in their comfort zone and then being with the same group and not growing and not transforming. And that doesn't mean you're gonna change your group every week or every year.
Mhm.
It's a matter of like growing, and if you can grow together, that's even better, right? There's nothing better than seeing the people that you are building this stuff with
Yeah.
to actually reach the next level. So whenever you think there's a there's a I think it was a YouTube interview that was Tom Hanks and Robert De Niro, if I'm not mistaken. It's like a whole table of actors, and I think it was Shia LaBeouf. But they were talking about all their experiences and everything, and I remember Tom Hanks saying like, when it's something is going really good, it's good that you feel like that, but this is not gonna last forever. And then when something is going really bad, also remember this is not gonna last forever. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're here or you're here. You just need to be used to it's just not gonna last forever. So whatever's
Yes.
coming next.
I'm just struggling with that. Oops.
Oh, what
Sorry,
happened?
listener. I'm struggling with that time and money is a construct.
Yeah, I
But I know
know.
that those are tools to have
Yeah,
parameters in life. And
yeah. And it's so like I can assure you, if we just keep pushing, it's gonna come to a, it's inevitable.
I know
If
I've
we
learned
keep,
so much in the past 6 months about everything in life, and I've been on a wave of emotional roller coaster journey.
uh,
I know it's only gonna keep making me learn more.
tell me about it. Like, I think I've been in the same roller coaster too, and it's just sometimes I feel like a lot of people just give up when they're so close to it and they don't even realize, right? It's like you've been at it for so long. And now when if you could have just pushed one more month, one more week, whatever it is that as long as it takes, you
Hmm.
reach that. And then people just give up on it because we as humans, we try to always find a reward on what we do, right? And when we
Yeah.
don't get that immediate reward, we like start questioning it. Like, oh, is
Yeah.
this even worth it? Like, oh, why am I putting all this effort, energy into these? Like,
It's what I was saying before. It's the expectation. You're like,
yeah,
I held up my end of the deal. I'm doing what I have to do.
yeah,
Why is it not coming back?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and sometimes those journeys, like the longer they are, is when you learn the most. We
Yeah.
don't want them to be long because that's our human nature, right? We can
Yeah.
have um gratification like right away. Hell yeah, but are we really living by that? Or are we
Hmm.
just like pleasing ourselves all the time?
Yeah.
So either one hell of a lesson or one hell of a story to tell later on.
Hmm.
Whatever it is, we just need to be 100% sure that it's gonna happen. It's like for me, I there's certain things that I have achieved in my life that when I didn't have them yet, and I could see no visible path for me to achieving them, I will start questioning it. But something within me will always tell me, I don't know how it is. I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I don't know how I'm gonna get there. But I just feel it in my bones. I feel it. It's gonna come.
Hmm.
I cannot explain to you how it's gonna happen, but I will.
Does it feel like that with this?
It does. It does. And that's one thing that I keep telling Andrew. It's something that I've been feeling like for years now. Even when we like I would say like 7 years ago, like 8 years ago. I'm like I just feel it. I know it's gonna come. It might take a long time. Yeah. Are we putting the effort and energy we need to? I think we are now. But I'm like I don't know how to explain to you, but I just feel it. It, it's a weird thing to say. It's a weird thing to try to explain to someone, but it's just like I freaking feel it inside of me. It's like probably it can be 1 year or it can be 5 years, and I know we're gonna look back and we're gonna be like, "Whoa, we were able to do all of these." It's just like I don't know, man. I don't know how to describe it, and I don't know how to explain it, but it's there. What
I
about
feel
you?
it too.
Yeah.
I feel it too. And I think that it's the same energy for me where I'm like, I don't know how it's going to happen, but it's getting clear as we continue to go forward. There's no path that's really written in this space right now, even like going to all these different events and learning more about the venture studio space. It's a new space.
Yeah.
There isn't no path written on this is the steps that you take or like lightly. There's different parameters for how things have been done, but it's kind of rewriting how business is done and how deals are made and how companies are built. And that's the place that we're looking to redefine, and we're only like, for me it feels like, and a lot of the experience that I've just had, like, just as a person in my personal life, how I've grown up and how like I've experienced the world, is that I've had to, like, I've only known, I've never how do I explain this? Okay. And I'm not saying this in like a definite term, but I've only known what I don't want from experience of things that I don't want. And but it's hard to know what you do want because you haven't experienced the things that you want, if that makes sense. So it feels like this is a similar situation where we are going into this and figuring out and learning from the things that we don't want, and then translating and transmuting that energy into, okay, this is what we do want.
Yeah. Yes,
And I
exactly.
think that's the journey that we're on right now.
Yeah, it's like
It's like writing itself.
yeah, the more interactions you have, like you might be taking all of these steps toward what you want, but along those steps you're gonna find stuff that you don't want, and you're like, okay, so I want this, and this, but this I don't like this, so I'm gonna take it out, and I'm gonna like reform this process. Where if I were to do it again, I know that particular thing, I don't want it as part of this
Yeah.
because it doesn't serve me, because it's like it's awful to feel it, or it
Yeah.
just makes me feel bad, or whatever it is that that thing brings you, right? So it's just learning along the way, I would say.
We're in a constant state of searching.
Aren't we all?
Yeah. It honestly feels so meta to talk about because it feels like a video game. We're just, it's like, I I know that this is the final, it's not even the final boss getting what we want. It's just like, in speaking in video game terms, I
I
think that
think,
the final boss is us breaking through our limiting beliefs and stories that we're telling us, to then getting to what we want. And it feels like even just like how a video game is structured, to where like you could see that there is this path, but it's like you haven't unlocked the levels yet because it's like grayed out until you've learned what you've had to learn, to then get and build up the strength and the abilities and collect all the freaking potions and the woo-wahs to be able to get where you gotta go. Um, and I think maybe that's like the most beautiful thing about the human experience, is that like our brain and us being able to like have this inner knowing of, to hold on to things and nourish them and make them grow.
yeah, I feel it's like we're in a constant quest, right? To trying to find what we want. But even when we reach what we want, there's always going to be a next level.
Yeah.
There's always the next level. There's always the, okay, I got this what I wanted. Okay, now I want this other thing. And then a new
Yeah.
quest, or not necessarily a new quest, but an evolved quest starts to take you to the next level.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
right now, to ground into the level that I'm in, and I I'm being honest here and vulnerable, and I want to, like, we were talking before we, hit record on this, and I was saying how I feel a resistance in myself to speak and like truthfully how I'm feeling, because I'm like, oh my God, this is a podcast, and like people are going to hear what I'm saying, and like we're building in public now and talking about our experiences. I want to be inspirational. I want to be that hope and that light at the end of the tunnel for people, for other people that are struggling. But to ground into the present level that I'm in on our and to identify my feelings of the situation is that I'm tired and scared and feeling like I'm pulling from an empty gas tank, and that's the level that I'm at right now.
Yeah, and it's I think it, if anything, it's better to show how you really feel, because if we're just here to portray, oh my God, this is so amazing. Oh my God, like our life is so nice. Like, then what's the purpose of it? Like, just watch reality TV. It's about being honest and show the ups and downs that we go through in building this together. It's not a matter of like, oh, we had to figure it out, because we don't.
Yeah.
And I bet you that a lot of people, even the people that we might see as successful people, they might even going through the same like existential crisis inside their heads, right? Like, we are so good at putting a display of ourselves to make it seem like everything is good, when we might be crumbling inside and be like, this is not good at all.
Yeah. And I
You know?
always used to think that if I even stated anything but positive I was feeling, that it meant like a failure, or that like I was never going to feel the good emotions again, or the opposite. But the opposite would happen in that regard, where it was like, okay, no, I'm just denying myself of feeling the full human experience.
Yeah. And
And
it's
learning how to sit with
good.
those uncomfortable emotions.
It's good. Like, we like me for the longest time, like I was saying the other time, and I was like, I would just avoid at all costs, no matter what, sad feelings, because they just didn't sit well with me. And I'm like, no, this is not what I want to be feeling. And then I didn't realize that I was pushing all of those feelings inside, like so deep, that even when you're trying to move forward, even when you think that you're doing great, they're just lingering there on the back and lurking and looking at you. Hey, I still exist. You haven't addressed me. And what do you think that's gonna happen? They're just gonna flourish one way or another. And it's like, now I'm like, I'd rather address those things and just get over with it and just move into the next stage than just recluse them, because it's not serving me, it's not serving my purpose, and it's not serving what I want to achieve in life. So if I'm not good with myself, within me, and how I feel, how am I gonna perform to my best?
Yeah. It's so scary being honest.
You know what? I'd rather deal with an honest person than with a fake one. A million
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
You never know what to expect with a fake one. They might be laughing with you and say, "Oh my God, everything is so nice. Yes, I like you so much." And then the moment you turn around, they might stab you in the back and they just talk bad about you. And
Yeah.
I don't want that. I don't want fakeness. I just want real people to
Yeah.
interact with. I don't have time, space, mental space, or bandwidth to deal with any of those things. And if that
Yeah.
means that my group of friends or acquaintances like gets reduced to this little tiny thing, I'd rather have that tiny little thing a million times over fakeness.
Yeah. If people can't hold the space, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And I also feel a limiting belief in this space within making this podcast, because I don't want someone to listen to it that potentially would want to be involved with what we're doing and not, I don't know, be able to like trust us. But I feel like that's just myself overthinking things.
It could be, but at the same time, it's like you're always gonna encounter all different kinds of people. And there
Yeah.
are people that are gonna judge you for you being you, and there are people that are not gonna like us being honest, and there
Yeah.
are people that are rather deal with fake people because they're fake too. So
Yeah.
they're gonna filter themselves out, and they are not the people that we want to do business with.
Yeah. Or is it just the image that may be portrayed of business is that it's it hasn't it's not the space where people are honest. Like I don't know, maybe just from like my own projections, I don't know if this is within everything that like I have to show up and be this version of myself and like other parts of myself aren't welcome.
But how are you supposed to show up and perform to your best if you are not fully showing who you are?
Mhm.
It's like it's almost like a compromised version of you. It's supposed to
Mhm.
display this image,
Mhm.
but it's not the full you.
Yeah.
And now I would say like there's an image to hold. There's a almost like an ideal presence that you need to bring, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that ideal. Like what even is that?
Yeah, but I feel like nowadays it's becoming more common for people to kind of start addressing these kind of things. And if that means that these are the ups and downs that we have to go through for us to be able to perform our best, hell yeah. Yeah, I want to be able to prime myself so I know I'm doing the best I can and I'm optimizing everything around me
Yeah.
to give my best rather than just like being this self-wounded, put together, duct taped version of myself that eventually is gonna fall into pieces because I didn't do a good job at keeping it. And there's so much that you can drag along the way and be like, okay, this is who I am, and look how good and how perfect I am. And inside I'm dying. It doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. So.
We're allowed to struggle. Crazy concept. I can't be perfect all the time. It's so rude.
Oh my gosh, this is so good. It's so refreshing. Like just to have these conversations. I feel like almost like the whole weight that I have on me from these like the week is like okay, it's good to acknowledge these things, and it's good to feel
Yeah.
that we have this safe space within each other to talk about these things rather than just completely ignore them and be like, okay, just let's go. We got these. We're perfect. Let's keep pushing. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. At least not in my brain.
No. I mean, it's good that we have the for me it doesn't work either. But for other people it does. That they can keep pushing through and not and are just like I just see the light at the end of the tunnel. I'm just going to keep going. So I'm happy that I know that Andrew and Chris are like that. They're the
Yeah,
ones that are pushing like through and like I, of course they're human and they have their own feelings and I don't want to speak for them, but it's nice to also have that energy as well, because it does help and get me out of my own head too.
It's like in every group, like there's the polarity,
Yeah.
right? And it's like we balance each other. So maybe that's why we're able to move forward in things and somehow know that we always can count on each other.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people I see, there's no many workplaces that I would say that you really have like a support team that you can really trust in and know that they'll have your back no matter what. It's
Yeah.
more all about like results and what can you bring, and if you are not bringing or not showing up how you're expected to, like they will even manipulate you to start questioning yourself.
Mhm.
And we definitely know, I know we don't want this company to be that. We want a company to for everyone to feel safe
Yeah.
and know that we all have our backs and that we're growing in this together.
Yeah. Safe spaces. I mean, I want to create that within business as well. Like, money makes people scared. And people, so, I mean, not everyone, but there's like an intense energy around it. And especially dealing with large amounts of money, which is what we're dealing with here.
Maybe sometimes it's just like previous experiences. A lot of the people probably when they were growing up, like even me, when I was growing up, I would have never thought about dealing with this amount of money. Never in my life, right? It was
Mm,
probably something like, yeah, when no, okay, that's not gonna happen. Now that I'm exposed to this world, it's like, okay, this can happen. It's of course intimidating, but at the same time, I think I need to change my relation on how I see it versus to what was taught to me when I was growing up.
yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily apply or see it as something bad. And it's good to learn to change your relationship with it
Hmm.
because at the end of the day, it benefits the better you.
Yeah. It's a journey I'm on as well.
Yeah, but we'll see. We'll see. When Nicole, you're sitting in your millions, you'll be like, oh yeah, my relationship with money is like awesome.
It's so funny because a lot of people around me do say that they're like, yeah, we all know you're going to be a millionaire. Like, we could just feel it from you. And I'm just like, that's so funny. Why can no one tell me? I'm like everyone's lying to me and no one's telling me the truth here and why like I'm just like, okay. I'm like,
It's just like
I have to
maybe it's.
accept it in myself.
I
I'm
was gonna
like,
say that.
no, because I just get so annoyed. I'm like, why can't you just agree with me that like my life, like I don't know. I'm like, why can't you just meet me where I'm at right now? And I'm stressed. Okay, I
They're
know,
showing you what they see
I
as your
know.
reality, and it's just a matter of you, the creator of it, to accept
Yeah,
it. That's it.
yeah. You as well.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, everyone sees this future and reality for me, and I'm like, it's the same thing. Like I like, oh my god, I wanted to bring this up. You said you messaged me on Slack. You
What did
messaged me
I
on
say?
Slack. Let me pull up the message. You said you were asking me for the pitch deck.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, "Can you share with me?" You said, "Yes." I sent you the link. And then you
Mm-hmm.
said, "Thank you so much. You're the best, but you already know it." Winky face.
Because it is true.
But then I said, but then it's so funny because immediately when you said you're the best, but you already know it, my when I read it, my brain immediately was like, "No, you don't." And it made me like sit back with myself because people will say that to me, and I'm like, I do not like. People can give me all the freaking compliments in the world and speak highly of me, but I do like, and I do not believe that about myself at all.
It's yeah, we're going through the same struggle, sister. Like here, the same. Like even when I tell something to Andrew, it's like, oh, we're working on this pitch deck, and I was like, he was like, oh, thank you so much for helping me put it together, and I was like, what? Me? I didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then one day he was like I remember the pitch to one of the clients that we were presenting to, like we were in a crunch, and like he's like, okay, you need to take this and do this and that. And like for a moment I kind of froze, and I was like, oh my god, like we're against the clock. And I was like, okay, I need to do it. And then I just start pulling information and doing it and everything. And then like he does the presentation, everything goes like well. And then he turns around and he looks at me afterwards and he's like, thank you so much for helping me with this. And I was like, what are you talking about? Just did what you told me to, and it's just like I put some slides together. That was it. And he was like, he got pissed, and he was like, you really need to start accepting when someone gives you a compliment because you did that by yourself. Even if I told you I needed help, you put it together. I didn't do any of those things for you. You did it yourself. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, well, yeah, you're right, but it's so difficult for me, and I see it in you, so difficult to accept when someone is complimenting you for something that you've done. I see it like such a second nature to me that I'm like, why am I being congratulated for that? Like that's normal. So it's just funny to see that I'm not the only one in these.
We're all just mirroring each other. We're all just a mirror to what
Yeah.
we feel inside.
Yeah, we are. We are indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh. Oh, this was fun.
I know.
We spoke so, like without realize. I think we've been talking for like 3 hours
I
now without
know.
even thinking. That's insane. We recorded 1 hour, but we
I
were talking for like
know.
three.
I know. We were talking for a while before this because we were just like, we have some stuff. We have some stuff we need to talk about.
Yeah,
Let's warm
we do.
up before
Yeah,
we get into this, and then we warmed up for 2 hours.
yeah. Oh my God.
But
But
it
I'm
was
glad.
but it
No,
was
we did it.
nice.
But we did it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This felt like a good episode, to be honest. It was nice.
yeah, yeah. So good.
Hmm.
Watch out, boys. We might be taking over. Andrew's gonna be like, "What?" Chris is gonna be like, "Okay."
We'll see what
Oh God,
happens, but I'm sure we'll have a
we'll
lot
see
to talk about next week when
for
they talk
sure.
about what happened in Salt Lake
Utah.
City and
Yeah.
us all being thoroughly convinced to move there.
Yeah. I mean, that'd be nice, right?
Yeah,
If
and plus, for listeners that don't know this, I also rock climb. And, when you start to rock climb, there's all those memes about it where it becomes like, oh, yeah, now it's your whole personality. And I'm trying not to be that way, but like it's happening. And the rock climbing out there is phenomenal.
yeah, it's a place to be at specifically for rock climbing. So definitely see you living there, Nicole.
I see all of us living there with millions of dollars.
I mean, speaking to the universe what you want then. So we have
Yeah,
to. We just have to repeat it like
yeah.
several times. What we want. This is what we want. And we'll learn along the way what we don't want of that, right?
$10 million, thank you. Okay, bye. No, just kidding. Not kidding. I was kidding about the
I was
buy
kidding, not
part.
kidding.
Yeah. I wasn't just gonna I just immediately hit stop recording. I could. One day I'll do that. But I have that much confidence. I'm building it
Irish
up.
goodbye.
Yeah, I'm building it up.
Goodbye. What? Oh gosh. Alrighty. Sounds good. See you everyone next week. Hope you liked the episode. If you didn't, well, that's on you, not us. And
It will only get better from here.
yeah, yeah, it will. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.